Nyree is from Peterborough and she really enjoys the open green space called Werrington Fields, but the local high school says it needs to fence it off to safeguard its pupils. Here's Nyree with her take on that story in this week's Your Shout.
So this is a real hub for the community. There's lots of dog walkers, there's people who use the space for open sport, for running. It's in high demand on the weekends when different clubs come and use it. For me, it was a real godsend when I was struggling with postnatal depression to be able to come here and on my doorstep have such a beautiful spot to walk around. There's an academy trust that's taking over the local school here, and they're proposing to fence off a large proportion of this area of fields behind me that the community have used uninterrupted for 40 years. It's one of the most beautiful spots in the city, in my opinion, and having a great big fence is really going to hit how this area feels. The character of the area is going to be ruined forever. If you put a great big fence in the way, you separate those bits out. It no longer becomes a freely usable open space because there's a big blockage in the way. People use this, they come and go, there are different kind of spots that they cut through and use it. Yes, fence off some of the space, fine, but at no point have the council or school been able to justify why they want to take such an enormous amount. One of the things we're most concerned about is that actually the amount of use the school will have out of the space is limited because of weather, because of school terms. So actually you're taking away something precious to the local community. It feels like there could be a much better compromise that suits all parties.
Well, the head teacher of Ken Stimpson Academy has emphasised the need to safeguard pupils after a number of incidents. But the council, which in July took the decision to fence the field, says it's now debating the whole issue again. Steph, you have lots of experience being a councillor. This is a balancing act. People feel very protective over their green spaces.
Yeah, and I've had experience of this sort of issue in North Norfolk of academies and local people sort of almost being at conflict over the use of spaces. I think it's just so unfortunate when it gets to this because too many decisions in politics and perhaps also elsewhere are made behind closed doors. And when you've got people as articulate as this constituent who you had on the VT, I think there must be a way of getting around the table and coming up with a compromise everyone can work with. I
mean, we've had an email, Lucy, from Ken Whitehouse. He says something similar is happening in March in Cambridgeshire, so obviously this is not an isolated incident. Where's the compromise here? How do you tackle it?
Well, I think my understanding is this is quite a long-running issue, and I had a word with Andrew Pakes, the MP in Peterborough, about it. He's pushing for that compromise, and I hope that something can be reached to sort this out, because as we heard just then, it's a beautiful green space that people want to use and enjoy. We've got plenty of spaces like that in Northampton. People should be able to enjoy them safely, you know, and we should be protecting them.
Mark, have you got sort of stuff like this on your doorstep?
Yeah, I have had some familiarity. Because of that, if I can make a suggestion, I obviously don't know all the local history to this, but when Gavin Williamson was the Education Secretary, he brought in a rule that no school could sell off a playing field without the Secretary of State's approval. Now, this sounds slightly different to that, but I don't know whether there might be any way that the campaigners could contact the Secretary of State to see whether they have any influence over this decision, if you follow what I'm offering.
Yeah, those details are, you know, just specific to this case. But your main message is to Nyree is to keep shouting about your green space, because they are important, aren't they?
And for people to listen,
reach a compromise.
politicians to listen.
Reach a compromise, yeah. OK, thanks very